Hey, great to see you. We got an excellent program today on the Bruce Collins Show. Our guest is Wayne Morrow. He's the CEO of the Birch Society, which at one time at least was considered one of the most controversial groups in America. It promises to be an explosive show today. I ate a bean burrito for breakfast.
Flip on the switch. Feel the static clear. Naming the glow. Yeah, the reason we're here. From the edge of the map to your kitchen chair, he's talking wild truth like he owns the air. Out past the highway, out past the mall, where the sand keeps secrets, you can hear that call. It's the Bruce Collins Show.
Welcome back to the Bruce Collins Show. Our guest tonight is Wayne Morrow, the CEO of the Birch Society. Is Wayne Morrow the most controversial man in the United States? We will find out tonight. Joining me right now is my co-host, Chad Miles. Hey, Chad.
Yes, Bruce.
I want you to hear a joke I just wrote for our program. First, I say to you, hey, Chad.
I already said yes, Bruce.
No, I'm trying to tell you a joke.
I haven't heard the punchline.
I haven't started it yet.
Well, when does it start?
Okay, here's the joke. First, I say, hey, Chad.
I think we established this already.
Then you look at me and you say,
I don't have time for your joke.
That's not part of the joke. After I say, hey, Chad, you say, hello, Bruce.
Hey, that's the funniest joke I've ever heard.
You won't let me finish the joke.
I have to return to the show I've been watching.
You're watching a show right now? What are you watching?
It's a show called The Short Man.
Well, that sounds politically incorrect.
It's the story of a man named Rudy and his wife, Trudy.
I like the sound of that.
It's a mystery. Everywhere you go, they are always stumbling over dead bodies.
Is it set in Detroit or New York City?
They travel, so they find dead bodies everywhere.
What a lovely couple.
It's pretty entertaining.
Turn off that show, Chad. It's time.
I almost forgot. It's time for the Chad Miles Report.
With the dumbest news of the week.
Coffee stain on his collar. Name tag hanging wrong. Sleep in both of his eyes. Red light flashing strong. He shuffles up to the camera. Cracked mug, crooked tie. Says, I've seen some stupid stories.
Well, you heard the music, so obviously it's time now for the Chad Miles Report with the dumbest news of the week. Chad, take it away.
Article number 1. Most people can't wait to leave the hospital after a stay for medical care, but at Tallahassee Memorial Healthcare in Florida, one patient isn't budging. WCTV reported on March 16th that a patient has occupied a room there since at least October, having been admitted for acute care hospital services.
Nothing cute about it.
Nothing, not at all. The first formal discharge order was filed on October 7th of 2025, with subsequent orders filed on November 24th and March the 2nd. Hospital staff have made repeated efforts to safely complete discharge, including coordinating with family members and arranging transportation. A hearing is set for March 30th. That's from WCTV.
So they just tell the person, okay, it's time for you to be discharged. I don't really want to go. There's something on TV.
A hearing, like it's
Yeah.
a eviction.
So how will they get them to the hearing? Will they have it in the hospital room?
And are the charges accumulating? Like,
I don't know. Oh, yeah.
is the hospital bill like,
Who's paying for it,
right?
basically?
Is it
Health
like
insurance?
$5 million or something?
It would be.
Article number 2. Patrick Alexander, age 33, was this close to walking out of the Chesterfield County, Mississippi Detention Center on March 16th, having been ordered to pay a $250 bond on a trespassing charge. He handed 3 $100 bills to the judge, WSB-TV reported, and said, "Keep the change."
Keep the change.
Keep the change. But the sharp-eyed judge noticed something weird about the bills. An unusual color along with Chinese writing on the back.
Timu.
That would give it away, wouldn't it? A counterfeit detection pen backed him up. The bills were fake. Alexander faces an additional charge of forgery, and he was returned to custody. That's from WSB.
I don't think Chairman Mao was our first president.
Why?
Yeah, that's got to be Timu.
Yeah, that's pretty bold to say keep the change.
Yeah.
You're
The only
passing.
thing missing was he should have said, "Keep the change, you filthy animal." But then he would have gone back to jail also for that.
Right. Article number 3. If you're wondering where all your hair ties go, maybe check with your family feline. United Press International reported on March 17th that the Halo no-kill rescue shelter in Sebastian, Florida, recently took Midnight, a cat who had been diagnosed with an intestinal blockage and marked for euthanasia at another facility. When Midnight underwent surgery, doctors found the cause of the blockage: 26 hair ties.
Man.
26 in a cat. This is an important reminder that small objects around the house can be incredibly dangerous for pets, the shelter posted on Facebook. Midnight is recovering and displaying a healthy appetite. That's from UPI.
And I assume hair ties are a women's thing, so if a woman had this cat, I probably wouldn't buy hair ties anymore.
Could your cat eat 26 hair ties, Bruce?
No, this cat's pretty intelligent, but I did have a cat a couple years back that was he wasn't all there. I'm not saying that to make fun of him, because he, at a later age than other cats, stopped running sideways. You know how they run sideways at first?
Yeah.
It took him a while not to, so I always assumed he was kind of slow. But in the bathroom garbage, he one time took out floss and he ate it, and it wrapped around in his intestine, and he had to have surgery.
Oh, boy.
It was rough on him. He survived for many years after that, but some cats will just put anything in their mouth. And of course, everything, ballpoint pens, pieces of paper, are toys, right, to them.
To them, yeah. A hair tie, hair ties are relatively big.
Yeah.
If it's the ones that I'm thinking of, for a cat to swallow.
I know.
So.
And he didn't just do one, it was 26.
26, right.
You'd have
Couldn't stop.
thought after the third he would have said, maybe I should move on to something else.
Midnight is currently in an addiction program right now.
Yeah.
Article number 4. Javier Yet, a 23-year-old mechanic in Brooklyn, New York, is lining his pockets with cash after setting up a tire station next to a huge pothole. This guy's smart.
Yeah.
Javier, you're smart. The New York Post reported on March 17th. Yet works out of his van and typically runs out of replacement tires each night. I have to pay a runner to go back and forth to the shop for me and pick up what I need, Yet said. I think the pothole is approximately 60 square inches and 12 inches deep. That's huge,
That's a
he
big
said.
pothole. Yeah.
He arrived in the area around 12:30 he arrives in the area around 12:30 a.m. and stays until 10 a.m., changing
Wow.
15 to 20 tires
So
each
he's
night.
working at night.
That's crazy.
In the middle of the night, there's a
Yeah.
guy
Well,
changing tires.
so after midnight until 10 in the morning.
Yeah.
That's kind of a unique service that he provides.
I mean, I could see 10 in the morning because you have the morning rush crowd, but he's doing it at like 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 4 a.m.
Yeah, that's actually I admire that because
Yeah.
nobody else is probably open.
Yeah, he's fulfilling a need. That's what
Yeah.
capitalism is.
He changes 15 to 20 tires each night and charges between $150 and
Wow.
$300 per tire. One man's misfortune is another man's blessing, Yet said. That's from the New York Post. And
Yeah.
actually, in the Bronx, $150 to $300 per tire is probably pretty reasonable, I would say.
Yeah. Now, I admire him for being there, and he is providing a service, but I don't appreciate the fact that he has a jackhammer in the back of his truck.
The hole just keeps getting bigger every night. I don't know why.
Yeah, yeah. And the other thing is, the people that live in Brooklyn, don't you think eventually they would realize, oh, don't go down that street. That's where the pothole is.
Right. Is it a bunch of out of towners?
Of course, at 2 a.m., it could be a bunch of drunks driving through.
Well, that's good point. And finally, folks, article number 5. On March 18th, as a shopper perused the plush toys at the Hobart International Airport in Australia, they spotted a cute little face peering out from the shelf and blinking. The
Wasn't
Guardian,
me.
it's, it's like that scene in E.T.
Yeah.
The Guardian reported that a brush-tail possum
Wow.
had made itself home among the stuffed kangaroos and dingoes, delighting customers and staff. Airport officials safely removed the little bundle of fur, but it'll not be forgotten. We'll have a little shrine to the possum, said Liam Bloomfield, the retail manager. There will be a nice little photo. Once it
Oh,
gets a name, we will put a nice little post in front of the store to make sure it's remembered. No word on how it got through security. That's from The Guardian.
yeah, that's a good one. I don't know how it would have done that. But possums are known for playing dead. So it's a good thing he blinked, and you wonder how long he was there playing dead when
Yeah.
people were walking by him.
And
Finally, somebody said, "Hey, that thing blinked."
thank goodness this didn't end like the raccoon story we had a couple weeks ago.
Yeah. Yeah, good thing. I
Yeah.
barely remember that story.
Yeah. So if you regularly listen to the show, folks, you know what I'm talking about. It
unless
pays.
you unless you have bad memory like me. Well, Chad, thank you so much for joining us this week. And as always, be on the lookout for next week's dumb news. In the meantime, our guest tonight is Wayne Morrow, CEO of the John Birch Society, and we're going to get right down to it. We're going to ask him about his group and why they're so controversial in a moment.
It'll be a good one.
Our guest tonight is Wayne Morrow. Wayne Morrow is the CEO of the John Birch Society, a nonpartisan civics and education organization that endorses the timeless principles of the Declaration of Independence, which proclaim that our personal rights come from God, not from government. To find out more about the John Birch Society, you can visit jbs.org. Wayne's newest book is Fabian Freeway, and we're going to talk about that tonight. Wayne Morrow, welcome to the Bruce Collins Show.
Hey, thank you so much, Bruce. Appreciate that.
Before we dig into your book, Fabian Freeway,
Yeah.
can we briefly touch on the stigma that was placed on your group many years ago? Your organization, the John Birch Society, was accused of racism and extremism years ago.
Mm-hmm.
What do you say about these past accusations?
That's what happens when you tell the truth, huh?
Yeah.
So anyway, what happens? Mr. Welch formed the organization in 1958, and shortly after that, in the People's World, which is a communist newspaper in California, he was exposing them that there were communist cells promoting communism in the United States. And of course, guess who attacked us? People's World.
Mhm.
And we exposed who they were. Time Magazine picked up the story and says, hey, these guys are dangerous. They're far right. Well, how's Time Magazine siding with People's World, right?
Right.
So think about it, because they were controlled by the same people we're exposing, right? And of course, Nelson Rockefeller, he was all part of the game. And of course, he said, these guys, these people are fringe crazies. And come to find out, we expose the Rockefellers as well, because they're part of the CFR, all about world government. Anyway, so over history, now has proved this right. All we talked about in the past about the degradation of the morality of the United States and bankruptcy and the devaluation of the dollar and moral decay is all coming to pass. So we have many people call us on the phone and go, and you can look to Steve Bannon and Alex Jones said, we're the original OGs. Everything going on in the freedom movements because the Birch Society says, what you guys said years ago has come to pass. So when we point out to the enemy of our country, what else can they do when they control the media and come all kind of crafty things? They did that with Trump. They did that with Joseph McCarthy. And we can go on and on. So when you tell the truth, so I know you mentioned this. So we have this, you can go on our website. You can see what we believe in. And we believe, I'm just going to briefly, a couple of things. We're doing this since 58. And I see if people can disagree with this. We believe in American system of government, constitutional republic. We believe in traditional moral values, a Judeo-Christian heritage, cornerstone of our civilization. We believe in the free market system, competitive capitalism. We believe in the dignity of the individual. We welcome people from all ethnic, racial, and religious backgrounds, judging only by their character and ability as we judge ourselves. Our common bond is the love of liberty and rejection of totalitarianism on any label. And we believe the individual rights are endowed by our Creator, not government, that the government's function should be limited, protecting our life and liberty and property. And individual rights are inseparable, linked to individual responsibility. We said this in 1958. Anybody disagree with that? The answer is no. So
No.
that was all made up so you would not participate in the freedom movement. But now as time goes on, and here you interview Ralph and there's other books, and people go, man, you guys have been right all along. We teach a Constitution, Americanism. Majority of our members are God-fearing people, and they understand now what's going on, destruction of the American currency and freedom in the United States. And you look at where we were in 58 versus now, we'll see the degradation of morality and understanding. Our school system is under attack. People can't read. They can go on and on. It's all to plan. We call it a conspiracy, and they don't want that. They don't want to hear that. They think it's all like by, dumb politicians by mistake, and that's not true. So I hope I answered that question, but majority of the people worldwide, and even the United States, I rarely hear that question come up because it's not applicable any longer.
Mhm. So how did you personally become involved in the John Birch Society?
When I was in the Army, somebody handed a book called None Dare Call It Conspiracy. I read it and I said, wow, I just connected a whole bunch of puzzle pieces. So it's not all by mistake. It's all by the plan. And that's how I started in 1976. I can't believe it. 50 years I've been doing this. I've been reading information. I wasn't on staff in my 10th year. I've been on staff, but I was in research and healthcare and worked for Lockheed, so I did a lot of corporate things. But I read that book and it opened my eyes. So I tell people the Birch Society is the top of the puzzle box. That's where we
Mhm.
are with the top of the puzzle box. As you all know, as you interview people, we're piecing things together, and
Yeah.
history has proven us right.
Mhm. So, as we stated before, your book is Fabian Freeway. Why is the Fabian Society so important? Because you see a lot of groups that are tied
Mhm.
to globalism and one world government
Mhm.
and all of that. But what exactly is important about the Fabian Society?
Well, I'm glad you asked. So I used to work in the UK for 4 years. I managed a medical company. And the story behind the Fabians is like Cecil Rhodes, and Lord Milner, and they were very instrumental in forming the Fabians. The Fabians moniker was a wolf in sheep's clothing. So that was a confession. So who are the Fabians? So they started in 1884, Bertrand Russell and George Bernard Shaw, believe that or not, and other people, Sidney Potter and Beatrice Webb, rather, and so they got together and they said, we believe in world government. We're going to do it very educational, slowly, very gradual, and we're not going to take the Marxist rule, which is more radical. And during the course of time, when I would actually live near Oxford University, there was an individual, Aldous Huxley, H.G. Wells is a member of the Fabians. And then Aldous Huxley was talking about the Fabians, and he got this one particular young writer interested. And he wrote about it, and he said, "This is so cool. I really want to write it in a book, but I don't want to put my name on it. It sounds so far out there." And he said, "I'm going to do a pen name." So he thought of his name. His name was Eric Blair. And he said, I'll give it a name. And his name he selected was George Orwell.
Hmm.
So George Orwell wrote the book 1984, which is about the Fabians. Now, the question becomes then when I tell people about this, why did he pick 1984 of all years? Is because the Fabians started their organization in 1884, and they said within 100 years they have world government.
Hmm.
That's why it's called 1984. So when you read dystopian or Orwellian, he's talking about the Fabians, about world government. So now if we look fast forward to today, there's a lot of things he talked about are going on right now.
Yeah.
And so what happened after World War One, President Wilson sent a bunch of bankers and some other folks to England to meet up with the Fabians. And he said, "What are you guys doing?" "Oh, this is kind of interesting," because they were all in the same league. And they were there for a little while, and it was called the Inquiry. People can look that up. And the Inquiry group went back to the United States, and they formed the Council on Foreign Relations. See the tie-in now? So you
Yeah.
have the Fabians in England, which have locations. You have the Council on Foreign Relations running public policy, foreign policy of two governments, and there you go. So I had a chance to meet up with the Prime Minister, Liz Truss, who was sacked after 2 months, and I met up with her at a meeting, and I said to Liz, I said, Liz, you never said how the Fabians sacked you." And she looked at me with big eyes, and she looked like she saw a ghost. So I sent her the book, Fabian Freeway, and that was last fall. And now she has a podcast, or she's on, I think, Rumble or something like that. And she's all angry because she found out the Fabians sacked her. The London School of Economics, Bruce, was formed by the Fabians. And the president of the Bank of England is a Fabian. 140 140 members of parliament are Fabians. Every prime minister in England is a Fabian. Kurt Starmer is a Fabian. So is Sadiq Khan, a
Wow.
Fabian. If you read what they want to talk about, what's going on in England, let's talk fast forward to England today. They're destroying that country to plan. So I look at the Fabians in the UK, why I'm involved getting the people in the UK awakened to what's happening. It's coming to traction for the United States. Remember, the two guys work together, right? To
Mhm.
foster world government. So that's
Yeah.
why we get attacked, Bruce, because we're exposing, you know who's behind the curtain, like the Wizard of Oz movie, like that's who the person is. It's not the picture you see. So the Fabians is really important because they're destroying their country and they're taking the illegal aliens, the invaders, destroying, rape and pillage, destroying their country on purpose to destroy all history, break it down to form a new world order.
Hmm.
And that's what Keir Starmer's doing. He's bringing technocracy in, IDs, just like what's going on in Sweden and in China. And it's all the plan. He wrote a paper called The Road Ahead. Anybody could go down and look it up and read what he says. It's all Marxist socialism.
Hmm. You mentioned the London School of Economics. Was John Maynard Keynes a Fabian because his
Mhm.
philosophies were ridiculous? Uh,
Absolutely.
so,
He's
so,
very involved in the Fabians, very much so.
hmm.
Think about George Bernard Shaw, wrote My Fair Lady. Now, he was a Fabian. Think of the story, poor girl becomes rich and famous, right? Marries a rich guy. Well, it was Pygmalion. Think about why would he write this, right?
Hmm.
Well, but here George Bernard Shaw said, you can go on YouTube, look, George Bernard Shaw, euthanasia. He said, I don't have a problem with every 5 years, I would go to a court to validate if I should be dead or alive, if I'm a valid citizen or not. And if not, I could be euthanized because I'm really a useless person. He actually said that. You can listen to it. Actually says this. So
Hmm.
these are where these people are at.
Yeah. And
Tony
one of
Blair's a Fabian. So I can go on and on, huh?
Yeah, I know. One of the things, the central themes of Fabianism, I believe, is gradualism. And so, how does this work? And it's obviously done so that people don't recognize something that has happened overnight, right?
Yes, it has to be very gradual. As I said, that's the wolf in sheep's clothing. Because they wanna do it if they came out in the press that says, "Bruce, tomorrow you're gonna lose your house, and you're gonna have, minimal amount of money, and you're not gonna have anything, and be happy." Sound familiar?
Hmm.
And, you're not gonna have any freedoms, and we'll let you know if you can say this and not say this. Do you wanna sign up? And the answer is, "Of course not."
No.
Well, they can't tell you that. So they gradually degrade your freedoms, like the United States, over a period of time. And that's why the Birch Society called it many, many years ago, and we expose it worldwide. It's not just the United States, by the way, or England. And they see this. It has to be gradual. It can't be all of a sudden because now the cat's out of the bag, more or less. And that's why it's very slow but malicious. But that's their goal. They write about it. I
Hmm.
mean, Tragedy and Hope by Professor Clarence by Quigley, and he wrote the book back in the 60s and 70s. And he wrote about the Council on Foreign Relations. He said, I'm not opposed to the system. You should just talk about it." He was a professor at Georgetown, and Bill Clinton said that was his mentor. Okay, think about that one for a while. And the book's about, 600, 700 pages. And he says, I don't have a problem discussing this. This is really cool. Then I have on my bookshelf, which is kind of cool, written in the 1900s, is H.G. Wells wrote, like I showed to you, look, The Open Conspiracy of the New World Orders. You know he wrote about that, H.G.
Hmm.
Wells? Surprise, surprise. So it's not just us. He even talked
Right.
about this in 1911.
Hmm.
So, I mean, if I go back in history, I said, read the books. That's why I have books behind me. I said, it's not me saying it. I'm telling you, they come out and admit what they're doing. So the issues we have today is most people have it's so far out there, Bruce, they don't believe it. It's so unbelievable, but it's history. They start connecting the dots. And that's why we read the books and expose the plan, because there's a way out of it. It's just they know people have to be sidetracked to truth. So once we give them the truth, now they can act, and they're afraid of that. So with that, over the course of time, they want to make sure they keep you looking over here and looking over here and never at them.
Hmm. This is kind of a sidebar, and it's a little bit away from your book, Fabian Freeway, but we'll return to that. But what's your take on Donald Trump? There was an attempted assassination. We didn't get the full story on what that was
Mhm,
about.
mhm.
He's done some positive things, such as
Yes.
shutting down the border. But at the
Mhm,
same time, we're going to war now, and we've
mhm.
got this big war machine and this big
Yeah,
defense budget. We're
yeah.
obviously not going to balance the budget. So
No.
what do you make of his presidency?
Well, that's a tough one. I think he's done some good things, and I think
Hmm.
he's done some really poor things. He's surrounded by some globalists, that he's a the deal maker. Everything's a deal, right?
Mhm.
And I think sometimes he's making deals. I don't think he understands the total impact, and maybe he does. I don't know. I sometimes I think he's compromised the way he does some things. He's easily swayed because of his big ego. Of course, you go against him, he gets all upset with you. If you expose he's done something wrong, he gets really angry. So, I mean, he has done some good things for sure, but he also done some questionable things. And, you know, like every other politician, you have to keep them, in line. But when I watch the State of the Union, even though he did said some really good things, it's all about how wonderful he was doing. But
Yeah.
half the Congress sat down and never applauded for anything. I mean, that's pretty sad, Bruce, where half of the Congress is sold out socialist Marxists.
Mhm.
How can America vote for something like that? Just like how does that work? The other question I'll ask you, at least bring it to your attention, was when they complain about the riots in Minneapolis and all, and we know that George Soros and those people are funding them because it said so. I always ask the people the question: why would someone very rich support somebody revolutionary to destroy the same system that they enjoy? Why would they do that?
Well, they're in power for one thing.
Yeah, because they want more power. They're using the ninnies in the streets to destroy the middle class so they can rule upper class and serfs. There's no middle class. So it's destroying the middle class. So they're not going to lose. They're using them as surrogates for their dirty work.
Mhm.
I always ask the question, why would they want to do that? The answer is that's why they're doing it. They're not, the folks in the streets, they become expendable when the job's done, just like in England. Those people are all expendable, and they don't even know that. They're
Yeah.
all gone.
Yeah. It's like you said, I think things are more out in the open if your eyes are open. You can see what's going on.
Yes.
Years ago, it was kind of in the shadows. Jimmy Carter had Zbigniew Brzezinski, who was
Mhm.
an admitted communist. So these things have kind of come to the surface now where a lot more people, I think, can see what's going on. But one of the huge disadvantages of conservatives is the fact that the media and the education system are obviously very influential and lean heavily to the left. I once talked to a producer. I had mentioned this on a previous show, but I once talked to a producer of Nightline with Ted Koppel.
Yeah.
And my question was, how can a news story on the local level be reported in Abilene, in Miami, in Rochester, in Fargo, North Dakota,
Mhm.
and it's the same story,
Mhm.
and yet it doesn't seem to be as critical as, say, someone murdered someone or,
Mhm.
did some horrific thing. And he claimed it was a coincidence in so many words. But we know that there's a pipeline there that these news stations have to report certain things. Did this strategy come from the Fabians?
Well, it came from the conspirators, we call them. They met Council on Foreign Relations, and yes, I mean, they're all the same ilk, but they control media.
Mhm.
That's all part of the plan. If you look at the Council on Foreign Relations and the media, all the media is controlled by them. So that's why, they attack us way back then. Now they ignore us because they don't want attention back to us again because now we're exposing them. But Time, Fox News is controlled by, you know, Rupert Murdoch. He's a globalist. He's not a friend of ours. They're never going to tell you the truth. So sorry, folks. Don't watch Fox News. You're not going to hear the truth. They give you a little bit of truth, a lot of like, well, come back next time.
Mhm.
CNN and all that Communist News Network, I call it. That's all the same. But of course, that's the same deal. Is that the same propaganda machine because they control all the media, and folks like yourself, independent podcasters and newscasters around the world, because I interview I get interviewed by lots of those. They are really telling the truth, and so without that, people would listen just to main media. So I was in the meeting with General Flynn, and met independent podcasters and news agencies from around the world. And I met a man from Spain, and he said to me, I saw him after, and he was very angry. He thought he acted like a Bircher, He says, "I see what's going on. I know that Venezuela is pushing drugs through Europe and all," which was very true. I said, "So how do you receive news about the United States?" Ready for this one? We have 2 sources, CNN and the New York Times.
Hmm.
So that's how they look at the United States.
Yeah.
So my job has been when I talk to folks like yourself in England and France and the Netherlands, I expose them to, because we're doing more global work now, I expose them to our magazine in multiple language. If you go to our magazine, thenewamerican.com, it's in multiple languages, upper and core. You can French, German, all because we have to teach them really what's going on, and I show them this magazine we did, one of our issues called the Global Power Grab, which is we did this in July. It's really interesting, Bruce. These are all the offices of the United Nations.
Wow.
And I showed that to the guys in Australia and England, and they thought it was just Brussels and New York. So here's a cool thing. What do you think they're doing in all these locations in the United Nations? What do you think they're doing? You're on the menu. That's what this is all about.
Hmm.
So once they see the vastness of it all, because I have a moral responsibility to tell people, now they know. Just like the Fabians, and if you Google search YouTube Fabians, you'll see 6 or 7 now YouTube guys interviewing people about the Fabians now. Like, "Hey, we're doing work," and yeah, they're involved in, 140 of them are PMs, and all of our prime ministers were all Fabians. What is this all about? It's not just a think group. And so the word is out, and thanks for organizations like yourself around the world. They're telling the truth, but the mass media is controlled. That's it. You're not going to hear the truth. Not at
Yeah.
all. They can't tell you the truth. There'll be just like Tucker Carlson, he got the heave ho because he was getting way too close to the truth, and he was vilified, of course. He got fired.
Mm-hmm.
Makes sense, huh?
Yeah. Crazy. So, the Federal Reserve, did the Fabians have some kind of hand in that?
Not really. Well, they formed the Bank of England for the London School of Economics. It's a template, but that
Mhm.
was all that was all bankers, international bankers, J.P. Morgan also. They did that back then on their own. And of course, The Creature from Jekyll Island is the John Birch Society's book. Ed
Mhm.
Griffin worked for us, and we paid for that to happen. And when that book took about 10, 15 years to write that book, and they exposed the genesis of this, of the Federal Reserve, because that's part of the Marxist plan, destroy the bulk of the currency, right? And
Mhm.
like progressive income tax, and on it goes. And so we're going through the tick list. You ever read the book to go, The Naked Communist by Cleon Skousen?
No.
Worth a read, because it
Okay.
has all the planks on here's the various things that you have to go through, and you can see them ticking off the list: private property, progressive income tax, and can you imagine our states actually voted for progressive income tax? I mean, really? I mean, what are
Yeah.
you guys thinking? But they did that, and then around Christmas time, the Federal Reserve shows up, and of course they've been a pain in our neck all along, destroying our currency, and here we have today destroying our currency is worth nothing. And the stock market's teetering on upside down, but that's all done planned because they want to usher in digital currency. Then they monitor everything you buy or not buy, and just like China, right? So
Mhm.
again, it's all part of the plan. That's what's hard to get people wrap their head around it. Is this is not stupid politicians. This
And
is
the
very
point you're
rational.
making that's I think is also important to make is
Mhm.
when they have the money, they have the power. So the
Yes, sir.
liberty is gone
You
when the
got it.
money is gone.
You're in a digital prison. That's what you
Mhm.
are.
Mhm.
That's exact, and you'll hear more about digital currency, and digital currency is gonna fraud. That is all. You become in a digital prison. Now they control every one of your purchases. So Bruce, if you wanna buy one of my books, they'll say, "No, no, you can't buy one of those. No,
Yeah.
not gonna
And
happen."
you referenced God, but then God becomes government because they're the ones that are going to tell you if you get money or not through
Mhm.
digital currency. They can take
Yes,
your money away.
of course.
Mhm.
Absolutely, and of course, the guys we talk about are amoral,
Mhm.
and of course, we know this is a spiritual battle.
Mhm.
This is a good versus evil, and we see that, with the Epstein files. I mean, can you imagine how bankrupt those people were? I mean, even lots of money made totally bankrupt. And by the way, you've noticed the Epstein files is not talked about anymore. It's all about war.
Yeah.
Geez, I wonder why.
And UFOs.
I wonder why. Why would we not want to talk about that anymore? Was that getting a little too close to the nerves and exposing famous rich people that we wouldn't want to know how bad? I wonder
Mhm.
what's really going on here, Bruce. Hate the
Yeah.
truth, huh?
Yeah.
Mr. Welch says, "Telling the truth is inexpensive. Telling a lie costs a lot of money."
Hmm. So, do you think anything is going to occur with with the Epstein files?
Yeah, I think it's what it already has exposed
Yeah.
some people. Some people have left, but I think it's a lot of redacted information was taken out. We had downloaded 1,000,000 files, 1,000,000 pages already. Yeah, think about this. Guy had 3,000,000 pages. What was that all about? Was he a stamp collector? I mean, he was actually using his bribery,
Hmm.
and hey, listen, if you fall in line, it was done for a reason, And of course, now that, which I don't think he's dead, but now it's used as like, ammo for keeping people in line. And so Tom Massey, who's a friend of ours,
Great guy.
who pushed hard to get the Epstein files released, and of course Trump jumped all over him, right?
Hmm.
Why is that? Because some of his rich donors were going to be exposed.
Hmm.
Surprise, surprise. So you think, can we be honest and tell the truth? These guys are doing these insane, immoral things. I mean, really? Are they that totally morally bankrupt? Because we said it's a war against God. It's good versus evil. You look at it, I guess at the end of the day, we're seeing more evilness, but
Hmm.
I'm seeing the gray disappear, bro. So as I travel, there's black and white now, good versus evil. It's no more gray. It's kind of like evaporating, which is good. It
Yeah.
tells me who's on our side, who isn't.
And it's interesting because it's easier to see what's going on because truth is always good, right? So you have God, you have Jesus Christ. Truth is always good.
Hmm.
Lies are always evil. So if someone is telling you lies, you know that they're evil.
Yes. Or they've
I
been sold out
I
to
do have
some.
one question.
Yeah.
So all the forms of social welfare policy, do they all stem ultimately? Can we take them back to Fabian ideology?
Well, it's all socialism, which all leads to socialism is a step to communism. I guess they did was it Pew Research or something that 68% of college students think socialism is great because they got it
Yeah.
pumped into their soft heads since elementary school. And I tell them, you're marching to your own slavery. Socialism leads into communism, to totalitarianism.
Hmm.
Just look at the trends. So, hey, I live in my mother's basement, I don't own anything, so socialism is cool. I don't have to work and I get X amount of dollars. And we'll go take money from the rich and we'll be all good. Of course, I told you the game that never works that way. They're
Yeah.
not going to give you anything. Matter of
Right.
fact, they're going to gain more power. You have less. So that's a big joke. And, so the war is really between your ears and they know this. So it's psychological warfare. We see that all the time. People can't read, don't want to read. Some guys with gray hair still can read with books. We're kind of the weirdo types, but we stimulate more people to do their research and do their reading and understanding. But I
I
hope I
can't
answered that question because it's to me it's simple to see it, but people said it's too unbelievable to understand it.
I can't think of one city or one country or one state in the United States that's adopted socialism where it was a success like capitalism.
I can't think of one. I can't think of any point in history where the poor rose up and took over. It
Hmm.
was always up with a dictator, right? Geez, I
Hmm.
wonder how that worked out. Look at Cuba, what a good example, or Russia when they got rid of, the aristocracy and turned out to be Marxism and now the poor, bread lines, starved to death, concentration camps. How about China? Mao Zedong was a Joseph Stalin installed person. You know that? Joseph Stalin installed Mao Zedong.
Hmm.
He was over there getting trained and he ends up running China instead of Chiang Kai-shek. Chiang Kai-shek goes to Taiwan. And then what did Mao Zedong do? He got rid of 100 million people, killed them.
Hmm.
Nice guy, huh? Great
No.
system. But if you just look at history and see how it goes, I said that I look at the puzzle box, top of the puzzle box. To me, it's very clear picture what's going on.
And again, I want to remind our listeners and also our watchers that your book is Fabian Freeway, and they can pick up a copy at jbs.org. And I would recommend that to find out, more about your organization.
Yeah,
But
please.
if there's one key takeaway from your
Mhm,
book, Fabian Freeway,
mhm.
what is it that you would want the readers to know above all else?
It was done by plan. It's not stupid politicians. It's all done by plan. Well
Mhm.
thought out plan. What it is. It infiltrated the United States called the Council on Foreign Relations. They're not stupid people. They're maybe
Mhm.
evil people, but not dumb. Think
Well,
about London School of Economics, influential power sources. They're very slow and progressive, but they have a they play the long game, Bruce, not the short game.
mhm.
Just like the globalists, it's a long game. Well, they know over a period of time they'll wear us down psychologically because they can't be honest and tell you, we're going to determine if you're going to live or die. We're going to take your things away, take your family away. You want to sign up for that? And he says, of course not. But as I traveled the world in my job when I worked in the UK, I can tell you this. I don't care if it was South America, China, Taiwan, Thailand, doesn't make a difference. Middle East, South Africa. Most people love their families. They want to be left alone and have a decent life. That's all they want.
Mhm.
They don't want to control your life and determine what you're going to live and go. They just want to live their life and be left alone. That's a common thing I saw. I don't care if you spoke Chinese, Japanese, Italian, Greek, totally irrelevant. They love their families, have good friends, they want a decent living, and be left alone. They want government in their lives. Isn't that simple?
Right.
And that's what the United States was all about. So why would we want more and more government? Because people got lazy.
Mhm. Are you optimistic? I mean, obviously, as a Christian, we know that at some point there's a book of
We win.
Revelations scenario. Yeah.
We win.
But are you optimistic that your information can change society, at least in the immediate term? Or do you look at the events and it sort of depresses you? How do you view society today in terms of the information war that's going on?
Yeah. Good question. Well, you can certainly go down the side of like, I'm all depressed, I'm gonna jump off the bridge, But I see, as time goes on, the stories when we start our conversation a while ago, what we talked about was off the walls, but now it's like, God, you guys been telling the truth all along.
Mhm.
So it helps us a lot. Like, the time has proved us correct. Wow. So are people calling us on the phone, buying our books and saying, yeah, now I get it. This isn't like make believe land. This is to plan. I go, yeah. And guys in Europe, I gave it to Fabians. When I gave it to Liz, and I got interviews about the Fabians. If you go look on YouTubers, the 6 or 7 YouTubers exposing the Fabians, and Keir Starmer is the lowest ranking PM in many years, like less than 20%. I don't think he's going to make it to the end of the year. So when I thought through that all, I said, this exposing it revealed what was going on, and all of a sudden they figure out what is going on with these Fabians. Because 'cause you'll see YouTubers say, "Yeah, I did the background check. These guys are here." Now they start connecting the pieces together like, "You're destroying our country to plan." "Oh, I see. It's not just some storyline that we're believing in, BBC." And all of a sudden, I have hope because man doesn't wanna be a slave, Bruce. They
Mhm.
wanna be free. And all I try to do is give them the truth. Some can't deal with it, and some love it. And now it's up to us as individual responsibility, and God's help a better world, right? Is that
Mhm.
we have to take individual responsibility. We have an election coming up. We have to exercise our constitutional rights and be informed voters. So we teach the Constitution. We have our scorecards, which is called the Freedom Index. It rates every senator, every congressman, every state legislator in the United States how they vote constitution or not. And once you have that scorecard in your hand, you can go to our website called the Freedom Index. Now you go visit your legislators and say, by the way, why are you voting unconstitutionally? And by the way, most people don't even know who the legislators are, but complain about them. So now you know exactly who they are, how they vote. So our job now is to elect constitutional minded people so we can turn back some of that bad legislation. That's the only way it works,
Mhm.
And so I'm optimistic that when it gets kind of ugly, it gets a lot clearer. Because now people have to say, "Wait a minute, this is not going my way, I better do something about it." And I watched that in other countries. Hungary's a good example. So I'm optimistic that people don't wanna be a slave, Bruce. I really do think as it gets ugly, people see the top of the puzzle box as we expose it's the plan. And there's a
Mhm.
lot of people I meet, like yourself around the world, they do get it now. They
Mhm.
do understand it's not by accident. It's the plan. It's a conspiracy. And we call it what it is, conspiring. Two or more evil. That's exactly what it is, a plan. That's what a conspiracy is.
Mhm.
The course of history. And
Yeah.
the bad guys hate us to talk about. That's why we're coming out in May with our conspiracy issue of the New American. I hope everybody gets a copy. We're gonna print 500,000 of those guys, and talks about the conspiracy generally and what's going on in the past as well as the present.
Mhm.
But I'm optimistic.
Yeah. That's probably the right mindset. Now, last question. How can people find out more information about the John Birch Society and how do they join?
Okay. Well, it's easy. JBS.org. You can go sign up. It's $87 a year. You get a magazine and you get a bulletin. And we put you on sort of like a bulletin. You can have a local group gets together in your area, talk about key legislations, keep focused because it changes. We have people on staff. All they do all day long is look at legislations and impactful for our Constitution. Certain things going on because you don't have the time to do all that. We have to sift through everything and key on some key things. So jbs.org, you can sign up there, and our magazine comes with the membership. The New American comes out once a month. We have one this month is the Epstein Files.
Hmm.
That'll be fun. And
Yeah.
next month in May is going to be the conspiracy. Month I think I showed you before this the global power grab, right?
Mhm.
And this is a list of all the UN. This was we sold out of this thing. We printed it multiple times. We kept on selling out of this thing. So we reprinted the key articles. And if you want to send me your email address and make sure you get a copy of this, because once you see the density of the United Nations, then it just propels people to learn more, about,
Mhm.
hey, this isn't make believe. This is all the plan. But jbs.org and thenewamerican.com. Lastly, we have a school called Freedom Project Academy. It's an online school. It's our 16th year teaching children how to read and write cursive and do math and read books, just like the old school way. So we said, well, how do we educate our young? So we have a school called Freedom Project Academy. It's a non-for-profit. It's a 16th year. It's live education. You can see the instructor online, or you can buy the recorded version. So we have a lot of different things that we do, but it's all about
Great.
education. But that's the key.
Great. And again, we've been speaking with Wayne Morrow. He's the author of Fabian Freeway. And you can find out more information about that book as well as the John Birch Society at jbs.org, O-R-G, jbs.org. Wayne Morrow, thank you for being my guest today.
As well, and thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity, Bruce.
Hey, thank you for joining us this week. Really appreciate it. If you would, please like this video and subscribe to the Bruce Collins Show channel. That helps us a lot with the algorithm so we can spread this show over many eyeballs. Also, I have another channel if you're interested. It's Bruce Collins Reacts and Stuff, where I look at some of the mysterious, interesting videos out on YouTube and I react to them. I think you'll like that too. In the meantime, we'll see you next week. Thanks for joining us. Take care.
Flip on the switch, feel the static clear. Naming the glow, yeah, the reason we're here. From the edge of the map to your kitchen chair, he's talking wild truth like he owns the air. Out past the highway, out past the mall, where the sand keeps secrets, you can hear that call. It's the Bruce Collins Show. The buried up for Dustin, taking
a wrap, falafelites. This has been a Bad Yodeler production. Good night.